Welcome to the Aligned Powerhouse, the podcast for executive women who are done leading from burnout and ready to rise from alignment. I'm your host, Dr. Brittany McGeehan, licensed psychologist, high performance and mindset coach, and guide for high achieving women who are ready to lead, live, and love without abandoning themselves. Here, we unpack the nervous system truths, mindset shifts, and emotional patterns that drive your leadership so you can build power from the inside out. Let's get into it. Alrighty, hello. Welcome back to today's episode, guys. I am so excited about today's episode. Okay, if you are a high-performing, high-stakes leader who has ever fallen into the trap for mistaking what you are capable of as meaning this is the season that you are in, and or you have just had too many goals, too many focus items for your 90-day sprint than what you are actually capable of getting done, today's episode is for you. Today we are talking all about the honesty, clarity, and leadership that it takes to actually get honest about the season of business and season of life that you are in. Now, y'all, I'm so excited to be talking about this because I think that one of the biggest lies that high performers believe is that they are capable, or that like if they are capable of doing something, then they should be doing all of that at once, right? This could mean growing the business, being fully present with your children, training for the marathon, fixing the marriage, launching the podcast, whatever it is, right? If you're listening to this podcast, y'all, I already know you are capable of way more than the average human being. You are already a high performer. Of course, you are capable of doing all of these things. The other thing I know is that if I have your attention and you are still listening to this episode, then you are also interested in growing. You are not just interested in sitting in this upper echelon of elite performer. You are the 1% and you want to be the 1%, right? You want to think and dream bigger. Here is the thing, and I know that you have heard this before, and yes, today is an episode where if you've not grabbed your journal, go ahead, pull her out. There will be notes, there will be tactical takeaways on how I actually want you to move through this process, because guys, what got you where you are, probably hustle, grit, working long hours, it is not the thing that is going to take you to the next level. Okay, if there is something that I could turn around and pass on to the business owner or the young mother who is coming behind me, it is I want you to be ruthless about the clarity, about the season that you are in. Stop dreaming bigger than where you actually are. Stop assuming that you can do 50 things at once. This is arrogant. This is not data driven. This is not reality, and it will stunt you every single time. And what's going to happen is 90 days from now, when you sit down and you review your goals, if you're even doing that, which I almost guarantee that you aren't, if you are trying to put too many goals down at once, then you're going to sit down and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a big old failure and I can't do this, and you're going to take time off. Versus if you can nail this first step that is genuinely going to set you up for this next season for success, which is what we need in order to compound success and compound confidence, then it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Today's episode is all about learning to accurately assess the season that you are actually in, and why this is just it's gonna like change the game for you. Okay, it's gonna change the game in business. It's gonna change the game at home for the body that you are living in, all of the things. If you can master this skill, guys, you truly become a master of your universe. Let's jump in. So first, let's talk about why high performers, like I am talking ultra successful leaders, resist seasons. Okay, first and foremost, let's just let's name the obvious, okay? High performers are rewarded for pushing. This starts from day one as soon as you go to school, okay? Schools, academia, whether it's first grade or it is getting your doctorate, they reward pushing. I was literally told a million times, and I believe this to my core, higher academia, like PhDs, that is not about intelligence. That is about ruthless work ethic and politics. It has nothing to do with your IQ. Like, sure, maybe there's like an entry level IQ, but actually, I think, at least in my experience, the people that I was around, the people who were naturally gifted and smarter, they struggled 10 times more than someone like me did, who knew how to read the room and who knew how to work myself into the ground at all, like, come hell or high water, I was going to get that stuff done, right? This applies to corporate, right? Corporate rewards pushing. It rewards doing all of the things, again, until you start playing in this more political arena of, now I want to continue to move up. Well, then the skill set changes. This applies to building your business. It applies to building your family, right? Initially, early stages, it is all about turning hours of effort into revenue, into some sort of growth, okay? But again, at some point, this changes, guys, right? I'm sure that you have felt this. Like, life does not operate in straight lines in terms of growth trajectories. We also see that capacity is going to change. Your energy is going to change. The biological requirements that your body and maybe your family is going to shift based on the season that you are in. Take babies, for example, okay? Like newborns, that is straight survival. That is straight, you better figure out a way to push. Or that precious, beautiful, wonderful sack of potatoes is literally going to die without you, okay? Like, that is all hands on deck. Yes, you're not going to sleep and you just one foot in front of the other. However, if you apply that same mentality to parenting a young child who is 5, 6, 7 years old, you're going to raise a little bit of a brat, okay? They are going to have learned helplessness, because at that point, your job is to stand back and to assess, what does my child actually need and what don't they need? I always tell parents, like, your number one challenge usually is stepping back and letting them fail well. Let them fall. Let them fail. This is such a gift. The same thing applies to your business, to your team, okay? If you set it up correctly, and you are transitioning out of hustle and into strategy, into, I need to be a leader of a team, versus I am the founder, everything rides on me, it is like make or break, right? Well, now your job changes. It's not just, how do I get these tasks done? But now it is, how do I think about training my team member to then go and execute the tasks, or to develop their own style of getting these things done and what is going to work best for them. This is an entirely separate skill set. So understanding which season you are in and or which season is going to take precedence, because I will also say, I have worked with people in the past who are in both seasons simultaneously. And I will tell you, this can be compared to being a parent and also building a business, okay? In parent land and partner land and raising children land, it is going to behoove you, if you have children versus babies, to figure out how we're going to start setting them up for success and sort of doing things on their own, right? At our house right now, we're thinking about routines, we're thinking about chores, we're thinking about boundary setting. And with my husband and I, we are constantly going back and forth in terms of, how do we allow the other person to parent in a way that makes the most sense for them, versus I am someone being controlling, stepping in and being like, this is the way to do it, right? So on the other end with the business, at that same time, it could be a season of business where the season is driving and the season is growth and the season is, I need to hit my numbers and move, right? When this is the case, there is still going to be one that is going to take precedence depending on the need of the season. So perhaps it is, hey, we as a family have financial goals. And on a scale of 1 to 10, at home, maybe we're sitting at like a 5. There's plenty to be desired. There's plenty of area of growth. However, we're not in like train wreck territory, and we have more resources over here, versus we sit and we look at the business and, hey, the business is about 10K in terms of monthly recurring revenue from our overall annual target. And if I don't hit this number, if I don't whatever, there are serious ramifications for our overall standard of living. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, if I rate that, the health there is maybe it's at like a 4 or a 3. And so guess what? This one takes precedence. And so this is what I am talking about in terms of you are going to have different needs in each season. And guys, you have to be honest about what those needs are, right? And what resources that you actually have available. And we'll get there in a minute, right? Because the business is going to change. If there's like a fallacy I could pull out of every incredibly successful leader's brain. And it doesn't matter. I have worked with people who they're like starting up and they're really ambitious and they know their numbers. I've also worked with people who are managing like $1 billion entities, right? And they're responsible for like billions of dollars in terms of deals. If there's one thing I could pull out of their brain, it is this idea that you're going to hit a number, you're going to hit this magical whatever, and all of a sudden life is going to be gravy. Okay. The reality is that business changes. The economy is cyclical. Everyone freaks out because we're going into a recession or we're in a recession. Guess what? We have been there and we will be there again. The trick is learning how to manage the resources that you have available to you in the season that you are in. Okay. So everything is going to change is my takeaway for you. Feel free to write that down. Everything is going to change. The amount within which you can read the data and pivot accordingly is really the goal here. Okay. Now, here's the other reframe, the other element of this I want to pull you into that a lot of people, they just miss this. Okay, guys, when I start talking about seasons, here's the first thing that I hear. The first thing that I hear people talking about is their motivation. I am hustling so that I can go on this trip. I'm hustling so that I can fill in the blank. All of those are motivators, okay? But guys, if there's also one thing in the high performance world that I am teaching people not to rely on, it's motivation. It is motivation. It ebbs and it flows. It is the same as like hormones. It is different day by day. And if you rely on, I want this, it is ludicrous. You are never going to actually achieve any of your goals unless you are going to like run your body into the ground in order to get there. Okay. Instead, I want to orient you to the resources that you have at your disposal. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a list. So pull out your journal if you don't already have it, because resources are not just money and it's not just time. And what I want you to do is I want you to go through this list and really start thinking about this for yourself. Okay. Because yes, resources do include financial freedom or just like finances in general, right? But even here, I want you thinking about profit. What is your owner's pay? What is your actual paycheck if you are a W-2? Not just revenue, because I also hear a lot of people say this, right? They're like, my annual is sitting at blah, blah. Well, have we taken into account taxes? Have we looked at your expenses? How much of this money is actually usable? And even within that, I could do a whole episode on this, but like zooming in even farther on your financial health and your genuine financial resources, like how old do you want to be before you retire? Okay, that could be a whole conversation. And if you are interested in learning more about that, 2 episodes ago, I had Molly and Heather on the podcast. They are incredible and they were talking all about money and getting serious about your financial health. But this is a genuine question, right? If you're not saving for retirement, if you're not putting money aside for the things that you want and you're planning for it accordingly, then you were just out here like running on vibes. And I don't dig it when it comes to finances. So really genuinely getting honest about the number that you have access to that is actually usable. Okay. So time, attention is another resource. This is huge. Is most of your attention going to your young children, or is it going to friends because maybe you don't have children? Is it going to yourself? Like, where is that attention being driven to? I can tell you that with a lot of my clients who are like the upper echelon, right? A lot of their attention actually goes to their clients. It doesn't actually go to their personal life because this is a decision that they have made in their lives and they are setting up alignment. Emotional bandwidth goes in here. So does cognitive load. Like this is working memory if we're going to be really nerdy about it. Okay. But like in terms of cognitive load, how much do you actually have available to you? Again, I will give you an example for myself right now. I've got young children. I have a business, I have a marriage. My cognitive load for friendships, even sometimes like low stakes, just like friendship discussions, is very low. Like the chances that I'm going to remember someone's birthday, unless it's in my calendar, or the chance that I'm going to remember the work update that you handed me as a friend that you told me 2 weeks ago, like the chances of that happening are very minimal because so much of my cognitive load is currently being utilized to run the home, be with my children, think about how do I want to make memories with the time that I do have with them, given their season of life, given my season of life, right? Physical energy is another one. Again, I talk with a lot of high performers who have spent decades essentially paying the cost to build successful careers, like and one of the costs that they have paid is their bodies. And so now they are in a season of focusing on their physical health, focusing on their mental health. And therefore a lot of their physical energy is being geared toward training. It is being geared toward recovery versus having the energy to always go out, having the energy to go do extraneous, whatever things, right? Relationships are another resource that a lot of times we don't think about. I guarantee you, like if you're writing this list, I want you to like pause here and think about what relationships do you have access to in your life that you are underutilizing? Because 10 times out of 10, there's at least one that you've not knocked on the door. You've not made the ask and you've not been vulnerable enough to allow yourself to even be open to receiving a no so that you could possibly receive a yes from someone who would very well like to help and support you in the season that you're in. You just got to let them. Okay. And then support and finances. These resources are actually what is going to drive understanding what you can allocate where. Okay, guys, I really want you to get this down on paper and like etched into your brain. Leadership is about resource allocation. It's not about deciding what you want or when you want it. Like that's in there. That's a function of this. But it's all about understanding here's the size of your pie. Here are all the different pieces of your pie. Now, where do you want that to go? Right? Because that's a lot harder versus saying, well, I really want this so I can look good in a swimsuit. I really want this so I can have more energy to go do X, Y, and Z. No, that's not operating in reality. That is essentially running your life like a toddler, like my toddler who says, I really want my 7th beef jerky of the day. Yes, we are working on boundaries. Okay. So now let's talk about like what's underneath here too, because here's the other thing is that a lot of times and where a lot of people run into issues is that they like to pretend that resources are unlimited until they run into issues trying to allocate them. Okay. So I just want to call this out. I'm going to name this what it is. This is an emotional regression. Okay. So if you've ever been in a spot where you have been like, I really think that in these next 90 days, I can genuinely focus on, I don't know, like losing 5 pounds, whatever it is, like losing 10 pounds and acquiring 10 new clients and training my new hire. Okay. Here's where I want you to push a little bit deeper is why do you think that's possible? And why is it scary to admit that this is not possible? Because I'm not saying you can't do all of this. What I'm saying is you can't do all of this at once. Typically, we have a childlike fantasy of ourselves that says, if I can't do everything that I want to do, if I can't be perfect, there's something wrong with me. Okay, so let's just nip that in the butt. That is emotional regression. That's a personal wound, and that needs to be addressed in a different container. Because the reality is you can't do that, right? No one is perfect. No one is superhuman. Doesn't exist. We're not doing it. So if that shows up for you, let's go have a different conversation. Okay, now here is where a lot of people get stuck. Okay, because again, it's one thing to be like, great, thank you, Dr. Brittany. Like, I'm emotionally regressed. Let me just go magically fix that. So if that showed up for you, I want you to put a pin in that, okay? Because the thing that's going to change all of this is radical honesty. Radical honesty, okay? The question is not what do I want in this season, but it's actually what can I sustain? Now, this is what brings you into healthy adulthood. This is what brings you into a healthy moment of, hey, I actually can't do everything at once. And that doesn't make me a bad business owner. That doesn't make me a bad employee. That doesn't make me a bad mother or wife or friend or human. There's nothing wrong with me. for admitting and really honing and focusing on what can I actually sustain. Again, thinking about someone who is caring for aging parents, guys. Thinking about someone who is building a startup, and maybe they're building a startup at like 50 years old, 60 years old, which just feels inherently different than starting a startup in Silicon Valley at 20 years old. Okay. Or perhaps you are recovering from a surgery, or you are grieving a significant loss. Like, these things are not flaws. They're not issues. They don't mean anything about you. If there's something I could copy and paste from my brain into all of you who are listening's brain that I genuinely believe would change everything for you, it's your ability to view everything that's on paper, everything in business, everything about your personal life as data. If you can view it as data and you can remember that there are always choices in front of you and you can always pivot, truly you become a master of your universe, okay? And here is the thing. These facts are going to inform what season you are in, and your goals should reflect your reality and what is actually sustainable, not your fantasy, not this ideal world that you don't actually live in, right? And here's what I want to remind you is that acceptance is not about giving up. Okay. Acceptance is about working with reality instead of negotiating with it or living in fantasy. Okay. If you did not have your journal out before, now I want you to pull it out, because here's where we're really going to hone in. Okay. Now we are going to actually assess the current season that you are in. One, because I didn't feel like making a PDF, guys. We're going to walk through it right now. And two, I think it would be so helpful. Okay. I'm doing my strategic annual planning for 2027 here on Thursday, and things will change. They always do, but I'm kind of in planning mode, right? And hence I wanted to share this. So question number one is, what season am I actually in? Okay. Are you in a growth season, meaning you are looking to acquire new clients or sell more products? Are you in recovery? And so perhaps we're not in a season of push and our focus is personal life, it is body, it is things like that. Are we in maintenance where things are going pretty good and our biggest area of growth is just continuing to work the system that you've been building? Are you actively building? Are you looking to swim upstream? Are you looking to bring on a team member? Okay. This is going to go hand in hand with scaling. Scaling is, how do I copy me and have someone else do it? Okay. That's different. Building is maybe I'm making a few different hires. Maybe I am expanding. Scaling is how do I hit copy and paste on me and actually prepare to step out of day-to-day operations? Perhaps your season is healing, or it's harvest and abundance, and it's about just letting yourself experience how good things can actually be, right? Or perhaps you are in transition, which is a season that a lot of times I don't hear acknowledged, and I think it needs to be acknowledged more, because genuinely, transition is different than all of these. Transition is really marked by grief. It is marked by clarity. It is marked by evaluating the data, all whilst not necessarily going out and pushing, right? And in order to navigate that transition effectively, you have to know that you're in it. That way you don't get stuck there for years at a time. Now, question two is, what resources are currently constrained? So I want you to scale of 1 to 10, I just want you to mark, where are you landing in terms of all of these? Okay. So in terms of time, 0 is I have absolutely 0 time, which if that is the case, you should give me a call. We should look at your calendar together. I do not believe that is possible. And 10 is I am a time millionaire. Okay. I felt this way before children and now happily have shared that, but that's what I think of, right? Is when your priorities are work and maybe adult children or no children at all. Typically, this tends to be a resource that you have more of or that you have more flexibility over, right? Finances, money, disposable income, 0 to 10, rank that. Energy, rank that one. Attention, emotional capacity, and overall support. So supportive relationships, okay? For all of these categories, I want you to go through and rank them 0 to 10. What do you actually have available to you? And then question 3, guys, is, if I accomplished one thing exceptionally well over the next 6 months or 90 days, whatever it is, what would create the greatest return? Okay. So I'm going to repeat that question again. What would create the greatest return? So here we are talking about strategic prioritization. And if you need help with this, you just turn on ChatGPT and talk through it with them and use those phrasings, right? Because sometimes I will tell you, like when I have someone who's in a season of prioritizing their mental health and their physical health, they really struggle to see the ROI immediately, right? It's not until months later that they realize that the momentum within which they are moving is because now they are moving with their mind versus against it. And initially they had a really hard time seeing that before they got started. Okay. Now, question four is always the hardest in this exercise. Okay. Question 4 is what has to wait. And this is where leaders struggle every single time. Because again, this regressed version of this self, this younger version of yourself comes online and says, yes, but, right? I can push, I can this, I can that. Everything meaningful requires that you say no to something else. And this is where that radical honesty has to come in. Okay, what actually is going to have to wait in order to focus on this goal? Like, say it out loud, take the shame away from it, and be really honest. If you are saying yes to this, then you are saying no to this. You are shrinking the pie a little bit over here, okay? And then question 5 is who has to join the team, if anyone. Okay, if you have access to the ability to build your team, most people do in some way, shape, or form, then this is where you're also going to think about where you want to transition into support. Okay, this could be an assistant. This could be more childcare or a COO or a home manager. Y'all know I love me a home manager. Meal delivery, a coach, a trainer, right? Like right now for me, I'm working with a trainer for several reasons. One, for accountability, but also 2, because now I literally am outsourcing. I'm paying someone else to think about how I push, and I'm paying someone to put together my workouts for me, right? It's not even about that I can't do it on my own, although like I also wasn't doing it on my own, but it's also about like I'm paying for that nervous system, okay? And again, we have to be really, really honest because saying yes to that, like that's a significant investment that meant that I was taking away financial resources that were available to my family for other things. And being really honest about this is going to be the focus. Here's the ROI that I expect to see. And are we in alignment, right? Because guys, support is not evidence that like you are failing or there's something wrong with you. It's evidence that your goals have exceeded what one nervous system can carry alone. And this is again where I see leaders fall time and time again. Now, here is the next part I want you to leave you with. And this is where you're also going to like pull out your phone, your calendar, because I want you to not only have the courage to reevaluate, but I also want you to have the discipline to reevaluate your goals and how close did you come to hitting them, right? And naming the season that you're in, like this is what this is all about, okay? So seasons are going to end. And something I said way back in the day when I was doing therapy was I can commit to offering you this spot on my calendar for the next 3 months. But that tends to be what a season moves in my world. They last about 3 months. Okay. So if things are good, I got about 3 months of that. If things are hard, I'm counting on that things will have shifted in 3 months. If I'm really busy, probably 3 months. If things are right, like whatever. So for me, it's 3 months. For you, it might be something different, but this is really important because you don't want to confuse a temporary season with your overall identity. And this is something I see a lot behind closed doors is that a business owner will be in a hard season and they start to identify with it. They start to say, I am a failure. I am failing. They're making meaning of it versus attributing it to the season that they're in, right? Versus I'm an excellent business owner who's navigating a really challenging business season and we're getting back on track, whatever it is, right? Like recovery is not forever. Scaling is not forever. I would even say like abundance, if you're defining it by the finances that are in your bank, it's not forever. Okay. And the most strategic thing that you can do is say for the next 6 months, for the next 90 days, whatever it is. Okay. For the next fill in the blank, this gets my attention and it gets my resources. And after that, and this is where I'm like, take out your phone and put a reminder, like maybe 3 months or 6 months. For you listening to this, I'm going to say 3 months. Okay. Put a reminder in your calendar reevaluate season, reevaluate goals, because this is exactly what larger, more successful organizations do. And I'm really passionate that I think that we should all be living our lives the same way, maybe not the same way, I don't know, but like we should be utilizing the same operational infrastructure that is creating these large Goliath companies and bringing them success. You can be doing that in your relationships. You can be doing that with your health. You can be doing that with your home and with your children. It's just about copy and paste. Okay. Alrighty, guys. So yeah, I think that exceptional leaders have a very different relationship with reality. This is the biggest distinction that I see with my private clients who are able to freaking drive. Like you give them the ball and they are moving. They're moving and they are getting it done. And it is between that versus like the folks who just get stunted and they take a little bit longer, right? The biggest difference that I see is they just have a different relationship with reality, with their resources, and how they understand the seasons that they're in. They don't waste energy wishing that they had someone else's season or getting caught in comparison. And they don't blame themselves for being human. They know when they need a kick in the butt. They know when they need to assess their resources. And they know when they need to like slow down a little bit, okay? What they are doing is they are just asking better questions and they're learning to read the situation quicker. What season am I in? What resources do I actually have today? And what deserves my best energy right now? And grieving the fact of like, and what has to wait, okay? Because again, leadership is not about proving that you can carry everything. It is not like, it's not any of that. Leadership is all about making sure that the right things get carried at the right time to drive us at our North Star. Okay, your potential has not disappeared just because your capacity has changed. Capacity is temporary. Resources are temporary. Character and discipline is how honestly you actually respond to it. Alrighty, guys, that is all that I have for you today. I hope that today's episode was helpful, and I will see you on the next one. Alrighty, friend, that is all for today's episode of the Aligned Powerhouse podcast. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And do me a favor, if this episode resonated, I want you to share it with another powerhouse woman in your life who is ready to lead and love from a place of self-trust. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a quick rating or review. It really does help more women find this work. New episodes drop every week. Until then, lead with self-trust and let yourself be seen.